What is going on, Colts Nation? He is Jamal, and I'm Eric, your co-host of the Colts Cast. Anthony
Yo,
Richardson version 2.0 has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-1 since Richardson got benched by Shane Steichen. Everything that has culminated up until this point, from having one of his best career days against the New York Jets to barely scraping by the New England Patriots. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, man. Hindsight is 2020, but it just goes to show that Richardson's benching might have been the best thing that happened to him. Tapping out of a game when you're tired and hearing reports that you were showing up late to meetings, things like that. That's all behind us. We're putting that to rest. Jamal, tell me that this benching hasn't done wonders for our sophomore NFL potential franchise quarterback.
yeah, I think that the benching could have definitely helped him out here at this point. I think there's a lot to digest and break down with that because there are some obstacles I feel like the team had to get over, and I think that it was an eye opener for him. But we'll kind of get into that in a minute. Before we do get that breakdown, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Let us know below your thoughts and your comments on whether or not you feel that the benching was a success for the Colts, or do you think that we kind of still stand at the same point? Because Eric mentioned that we're 2-1. We're now 2-1 since the benching. And we won 2 games that were against shaky teams, questionable teams, but then we kind of just got dismembered against a team that's been on a hot streak.
How
Now
many
we
get
have to ask
dismembered?
ourselves, we got dismembered 24-6 against a team that's
And
kind of on a hot
dismembering.
streak. All right. Well, uh, they have a lot. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. My train of thought just got lost. Oh no, I was gonna say. So let's ask ourselves, how much of this was Anthony Richardson's doing? How much of it was other portion of the team doing? Let's see how we feel about it, Eric. I gotta tell you, Anthony Richardson, obviously the most athletic player on the team. I believe on Zaire's podcast this week he said that he said that AR is the best player on the team. I would not go as far as saying that by any long shot. I do think he's obviously the most athletic player on the team, but JT is bar none the best player on the team. So I have to just throw that out there just for everybody who's wondering who I think the best player on the team is. Eric may not agree with that, but I just wanted to get that off. But I do think that Richardson is the most athletic player on the team. And with that being said, I think that Richardson, as he is naturally the most gifted player on the team, he's probably the most gifted player on every single team he's ever played on his entire career. So when you are the most gifted player, what does that mean for you? A lot of times you get special treatment. You don't have to do some of the things that other players do or have to work through, because at the end of the day, it's not that hard for you to get out there and make something shake. Sometimes it's not about the X's and O's when you're the most athletic person out there, because when you have the natural ability to evade pressure, to make something happen, and in a desperate time, it looks good no matter what. Well, I think that the NFL kind of happened for Richardson, and it showed here that not only did he not have the reps and the starts that we talked about all year long, kind of leading into, and actually since last year too, leading through the draft and everything like that, but he had an opportunity to see that even though you are the most athletic person out on the field, when you're in the NFL, everybody's strongman out there, and you have to be prepared, because when you're not prepared, mistakes happen, because there's a lot of strategies that goes on in the NFL. So I think the Colts had to make a decision on whether or not they wanted to bench him, because, like you mentioned, Eric, there were reports saying that he was showing up late, leaving early, kind of not holding his end of the bargain, because he's that guy. He's always been that guy. He's always figured it out. But in the league, you can't really figure it out like that. So tell us your thoughts on it, man. Let me hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I best player on the field. Um, that's probably a good question, and I'd love to hear what Colts Nation has to say about that. I'm not going to argue with you that Jonathan Taylor isn't the best player on the field. That's a really good question, especially for this Colts team. But for a lot of NFL teams, that is their quarterback.
Absolutely.
Technically, I would say it's the most important position in football. It's the most important position in probably all of sports. But back to Anthony Richardson and his development. I mean, just even since his benching, I did a little, some stats. I looked at it. I calculated some things, and you know, before his benching, and I got 4 categories. I got completion rate, total yards, interceptions, and rushing carries. And I'll explain why I, picked these 4 out. But before his benching, 49.23 completion percentage, 200 yards a game. This is total passing and rushing. 1.17 interceptions thrown a game and 6.83 rushing carries. After his benching, 52% completion rate, 231.3 yards a game, total yards, 0.67 interceptions thrown, and 9.67 carries a game for Anthony Richardson. So, albeit it isn't a significant jump in a lot of categories, but I would say everything it is clicking. It's a good jump in the right direction. He's done better in all four categories. He's more accurate. We've seen it on the field. The eye test shows it. The offense is sustaining more drives. There's less interceptions thrown, so less turnovers. Shane Steichen is unleashing Richardson, completely opening the playbook for him because he's not worried about injury anymore. He's letting it out, so there's more of those QB designed runs. He's taking less ill-advised hits, Jamal. You talked about this before. He's sliding more, going out of bounds when necessary. Things are looking good, man. And this all happened after he returned as a starter. So, I like everything I'm seeing from him. You could argue he's probably been the best player on the field in the last 3 games. He's led some game-winning drives. He's put it all, put it on for the team when we really need it, when we need a 2-point conversion or a score or something like that. He wasn't even happy last game with the offense's sense of urgency after that quick huddle call with 30 seconds left. Like, he's taking charge of this offense now, and he ain't pulling up like Adonai Mitchell. Like, he ain't pulling up like Mitchell is on every route, man. He's taking command, and I think he took this benching to heart. It was that cold water splashed on his face. Like, I got to get it together, and I think he's starting to get it together. And this is all of these stats have gotten better with Anthony Richardson being the top quarterback impacted by drops in 2024. This is according to FTN data. He is number 1 as far as NFL quarterbacks impacted by drops. And we've seen it the last few games. Pass catchers aren't playing up to par. The stats show it. I mean, Jamal, right now, I would say he's playing like the best player on the field if I got recency bias on my side.
Sure, and that's definitely fair to say. And I think that there's been a trust factor that's been initiated between himself and um, um, Shane Steichen. God, I completely blanked out right there between him and Shane because, like you mentioned, that playbook has opened up. We saw kind of earlier in the season it was very bland. I think that there was definitely it was the injury that was going on. It was them not sure if he was going to take hits the right way. I mean, clearly, I think there was some more behind the scenes stuff that we were missing out. But
Very
I definitely
conservative
feel
play.
like
Yeah.
that Shane Steichen definitely feels more confident. So he's kind of opened up that book for him and said, "Hey, do what you got to do to make something happen." And with that, I mean, it only builds Richardson's confidence. And some of the other things too. I know you kind of talked about the completion percentages going up as well as the yards going up. One thing I noticed too with him is that he's really kind of laid off the zip on the ball as well. I feel like he's done a lot better job of trying to just. Sometimes it's not good. He's lofted some balls, that kind of just have
You can definitely
just
tell.
slowly, but he's taking a lot of gas off, and I think again that's because they're trying to help develop him a little bit more and try to make him see, hey, here's what we need to do and why, which that's going to take time for him to figure out. But I'm glad to see that again over just a 2-week time period, we can see the changes are starting to come. It's going to be a long drawn out battle. It's going to take longer than 2 weeks to break any old habits. We all know that. But this is clearly has been enough, like you said, that cold water splash in the face to make him say, okay, A, I need to be there and be prepared, practicing wise. B, game wise, I need to be on my best behavior to get the ball where it needs to be. And C, I got to rely on everybody else to do their job. But if they're not doing their job, I can put the game in my hands, which is what we saw on those game winning drives. We saw our receivers, our tight ends dropping balls. He said, don't worry about it. I'll put the team on my back and keep on rolling. And that's what we need to see. I don't want him to have to do that, but I'm glad to see that he wasn't trying to force things where they don't need to go. When he realized it wasn't going to happen, just take the game into your hands and do what you got to do. So I really think that, again, after a 2-week time period, we've seen a lot of positives. And it can only grow from here. Obviously, we can regress as well. Let's be real. We can regress, but I really think the growth portion there is going to be bigger than the regression because he can see what he can do. The coaches can see what he can do. And I think he can believe in himself a little bit more, and the coaches can believe in him, and he'll continue to thrive out there.
Yeah. And I will always say, I say this a lot, Anthony Richardson, I think the number one priority this season was his development, and
Absolutely.
we're making strides there. But as of right now, this team is headed for quote just miss the playoffs end quote type of record. I mean this looks like a 9-8 season. I mean it's setting up to be that way with the rest of our schedule being I won't say a cupcake walk, but it gets rather easy when you realize, hey, was it the Jaguars? Trevor Lawrence, I think, just hit IR, so he's potentially we may not see him in week 18, but I guess it don't matter. I
Yeah,
mean,
you know how those winning get in games against the Jaguars, you can get mopped up
yeah,
by Mac Jones. It's gonna
Matt
be
Jones
crazy to
gonna play
see.
like he
Yeah,
Tom Brady
back
prime.
in Bama.
So
Yeah.
New York Giants, Tennessee Titans, Denver Broncos. So like this isn't really a tough stretch of the schedule like we just had with the Texans, Vikings, Bills, Lions, things like that. So you could easily see us muster up some of these wins that really derail our chances of getting a better draft pick, which are going to anger a lot of fans. But there's also the side of things where if Anthony Richardson and this Colts team can get to the playoffs, I think it'll build momentum going into the next season. But it's looking very slim now. The Browns lost the other night, and they were playing the Broncos. We needed the Broncos to lose, so I think our playoff chances fell to maybe a quarter. So it's looking. It is shaping up to be a mediocre season.
It's on par. That's on par for
It
course.
really is.
Yeah.
It's just funny. It's like we
Yeah.
predicted this or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds about
Oh,
right.
sounds about right. But no. Another question we may ask in another episode. Should someone be accountable for this mediocrity? But that's neither here nor there. Won't go
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I won't go down that one. There's a lot of people who need to meet their maker, but we'll let it go. We let it keep rolling.
But Anthony Richardson, I would say, is
Anthony
making a jump.
Richardson, absolutely, he's definitely making the jump. Again, excited to see what we can do in 2 weeks' time. He's only gonna work harder and harder from here. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Hopefully, everybody else can wake up because I think that I don't know what Najee just did getting off the bed, but that was hilarious. If y'all watching YouTube, you gotta check that out.
Dragging this whole
Yeah.
bleep, bleep,
Anyway,
bleep across the bed.
anyway, but again, AR's numbers could be even better right now had our playmakers been doing their jobs. So I'm not even like you broke down those numbers, and I know you mentioned that it didn't go up that drastically, but that could have
Should be, though.
easily been 56, 57, 60%, if we have people catching the ball and it hits their hands, hits their chest. But he can only control what he can control, and so far he's done a better job at controlling what he can, and that's what it's all about.
Man, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I mean, it only went up about 2 or 3%, and that was with a significant number of drops in the last 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
again, Anthony Richardson haters will just point to his completion percentage and box score numbers, and they ain't watched one Colts game,
Yeah.
not one.
Yeah.
Turn
It's
on
crazy.
ESPN, and boys just start cooking our guys. So
Yep. All right.
that's how it is. I mean, small market team. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, but that's all I got, man.
That's it for me too, dog.
Yeah, that's going to be it for us, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Colts Cast today. We are live on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or any platform you use to listen to podcasts, and we'll be back next time to give you some more Indianapolis Colts content. Y'all take care.
Take it easy.